Grab your coffee and join me, Nicoa, for a caffeinated conversation about life. I'll be talking to people who have chosen to walk their own paths and, just like me, are creating a life by design. I hope it will give you the inspiration you need to do exactly the same. Hey everybody, it's Nicoa, Coffee with Nicoa. I've got Summer Lambert here. You already know who she is. I just looked at her Instagram account. She had like 1.7 million freaking views off of this one video that she posted. So you're like super popular, and you probably don't even realize that you also had 360,000 views on something you just posted the other day. Did you see this?
No.
Yeah, the Taylor Swift best entrance video has 359,000 views. I'm sure Taylor Swift probably helped you out with that song.
Probably. And what's really cool about that is I collaborated with a content creator. And so she was able to take the video while I was photographing. So that was definitely.
Oh, that's how that worked.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, I really liked the way you did it, or she did it, and you tagged her because they focus in on the mom.
Yeah.
And then it blurs, and then the daughter and the dad come walking in. It really was really well done. So everybody, I'm talking to a famous photographer. She's famous in my world because she was my photographer for my engagement party back in 2020 when I attempted a spreader event. I was unsuccessful. It did not turn into a 2020 spreader event.
No, everyone was safe. Everyone was safe
because we were outside, and I just love that you were able to do that for us. And it was so beautiful. The photos are amazing. And I have been following you ever since. And you have so much positive energy, and we kind of match each other's energy when we're online. And I think I was like a magnet. I was like, oh my God, I want what she's having. And you were like, I kind of want what you're having. So let's just have a party on the podcast.
Absolutely. I remember photographing the party, and I was like, these are people I want to be around. This is so fun. And it was magical underneath the oaks out there on the creek. And just, I don't know, it felt so warm in a year that was a really tough year. And so it was fun. It's been fun to stay connected with you since, because also like your story is not a traditional wedding story. Like normally I meet people that are, between the age of 22 and 32 for their first wedding. And then that's what I know about them. But you had a whole life that I was learning about, even just that night and with all your kids. And it was just really, really special to enter into that part of your story.
I'm so grateful. It was really a beautiful event. And I had so much fun creating it. And when I was on your website too, I love because you do photography, not just for weddings and engagement parties, but also brands. And you tell people's stories. You're a storyteller. And you're a photographer.
Yep.
And so, tell us a little bit more about how you came to be a storyteller. Because you have a whole story here, too, that is a lot like mine. We're both OGs, original gangsters.
That's right.
We're both from Wilmington. We're both coastal girls.
That's right.
That's so unusual.
It is. People are like, oh, you're a unicorn. I'm like, yeah, there's a few of us.
There's a few of us. Yep. We're a little addicted.
Remember when Mayfair was a horse farm and when,
That's right. I always tell people, because down here, I live off Masonboro, and you know where the Port City Java is, and like, what else is there? The Cardinal, and that used to be a strawberry field.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
I know.
That was the Howell family strawberry field.
So wild to think about. It's been fun to grow up here.
Where did you grow up in town? I
grew up on the northern end of town in Porter's Neck.
Okay. And where did you go to school?
I live there now. Yeah. I actually went to Wilmington Christian kindergarten through high school. So.
Okay. So yeah. Well, you're much younger than me, everybody.
It's all right. I have an old soul. I'm an only child. My parents were a little bit older when they had me, so I kind of have always hung out with adults. So,
well, I can tell you're an old soul because you connect so well with people, and I'll never forget the night of the engagement party. I had gotten myself quite tipsy on the old bourbon drinks that we'd had named after the creek. And we had EOD came, End of Days came and helped us create some specialty cocktails. And I went up to John and I was like, I need to tip her. And I think I slipped you a 20. Like that was appropriate. And John was like, I didn't know what you were doing. You said you needed some money. So I still think I owe you a tip.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the friendship's enough. That's
I
so
think so.
funny, though. I do remember that now that you bring it up, and I was just like, she's having a good time, and that's what matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a beautiful night. All right. So tell me a little bit about this evolution into photography and,
Yeah.
being a storyteller.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm an only child. And so I think growing up that way, you just kind of make up your own stories a lot of the time. Because you're not bouncing it off of a bunch of siblings. And, I had friends growing up, of course, but like there is something about being a friend to yourself that you learn at some stage of life. And I think you've even talked about that on some of your podcasts. And like, so I think very young that idea started. But when I was in middle school, my mom, she actually worked for Life Touch, the school picture company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they switched from film to digital, and she brought home an old film camera for me to play with, and I was a very energetic, very hyperactive child, and like that was the first time that I was walking slowly through our neighborhood, very mindful,
Mm.
and so when I gave those photos to my middle school art teacher, he told me that they were great, sent them to a competition, and I won third place for one and second place for another. And I was like, oh, and I think
Oh,
if someone tells you that you're good at something in middle school, you kind of just, you latch onto it. I mean, that's such a formative time. And so I have had a camera in my hand since. And I think so much of my family's history had, like, I have a very military background in my family. And like I mentioned, my parents were older when they had me. And so I currently no longer have grandparents.
mm.
But my grandmother growing up was the best hostess and storyteller. I mean, we would sit for hours and just listen to her talk about stuff. She was in movies and, when she was younger, my grandfather, he was 11 years older than her, and he was a Air Force soldier, and he like took her out on a date at the birthplace of Pepsi Cola in New Bern.
Oh,
And like
wow.
that's how they met. And like, so I just remember like hearing these stories of origin, and I don't know. And I just wanted to be able to tell them. And so I think a lot of my photography journey has been to be able to tell those things. And something, I don't know if I came up with this on my own. I don't know if this is from reading from other people, but something that is like a core motto in my business is that everybody has a story. It is just up to you if it's important. And so I just love to be a part of that, whatever that is.
I wrote that down. Yeah, it's up to you if it's important. What? It's just up to you if it's important. Well, what does
Because
that mean? I mean, let's think
everyone's,
about that.
yeah, everyone has an important story. Everyone.
Right.
But maybe we don't have the capacity or space, like we can't be friends with every single person, right?
Yeah.
But like on the day of your engagement party, like you and John, your story was the most important thing to me that day.
Yeah.
And
You're
that,
really present and mindful to your point
right.
earlier. I mean, yeah. And you created the perfect picture of it as well. And I turned those into books, and, they're really quite beautiful. So when you think about your own story,
Hmm.
what is your story? Because you've got this beautiful partner. He's so patient and loving and
Yes.
fun.
Yes.
You guys are hilarious. I mean, this is the other part about being in your world that you just make me happy. I
Sweet.
know if I'm looking at your posts, I'm happy. I feel your happiness and your
Yeah.
energy. Tell me a little bit about your story and your beau.
Yeah. Yeah. His name's Ryan. He's the best. We are opposite on every chart possible. Star chart, opposite. Enneagram, opposite. Disc assessment, Myers-Briggs, every possible thing. And I'm glad I didn't know that probably when I married him. So it might have scared me. But the longer we've gotten to know each other, we've been married 8 years. The longer we've gotten to know each other, the more I see, like, on paper, how opposite we are. But what's so beautiful about that is my strengths are his weaknesses. My weaknesses are his strengths. And so faith is like the thing that ties us together, our relationship with God. And so I just know that that is what's kept us so strong. And that's like the source of our happiness, is that joy that doesn't waver no matter what. And so I think just learning each other and being able to grow together has been so fun. And we just have to laugh it off, because life is weird. Things are awkward sometimes. Like, you just have to go with it. And so he often tells me, he's like, I really married you because I need you to help me have fun. And I'm like, well, I married you because I needed you to keep me alive. So like, it's just a wonderful partnership. I'm so thankful for every day. And so, yeah, we have a lot of fun, and he likes to be on my Instagram, like kind of in a joking way. It's very much a funny persona of who he is. He's actually like so deep and thoughtful and just a genius. And so I love being married to him, and I'm challenged by him every day. So, yeah.
You guys really are based in, I mean, you referenced your faith, and I think that's a pretty critical element. You reference your faith, but you also reference your self-reflection. So
Mhm.
you talk about the different things that you have done, like the Enneagram. I'm an 8, you're a 7. I
Mhm.
saw that.
Oh, yeah.
DISC, all that stuff, this self-work. That's important. And I
It's
think that's what
weird.
helps create a life by design. But in the context of a faith, and I'm not preference, I don't have a preferential faith,
Sure.
but I do invite people to find their faith,
Yeah.
right? So talk a little bit about that self-reflection in faith. Have you always been in a family of faith, and
Yeah.
and talk more about that for all of us?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, I went to Wilmington Christian Academy. I
Right?
grew up in a very, what I think some people now would say is legalistic and Christian environment, like all about rules, all about doing things the right way. And some people have a negative view of that. I honestly view it very positively. I view that as a way that God protected me from a lot of things, and a way that God put a foundation in. And all the other things that aren't necessary, I can leave. I don't have to be bound to that. And so I definitely don't blame that upbringing in any way. I'm very thankful for it. But getting out of that as an 18-year-old, there's a critical point in your life where your faith, whatever your faith is, it has to be more than just what your mom or dad tell you, or what someone else tells you. You have to ask yourself, like, hey, what's happening inside of me? Like, I know you've mentioned, different walks of faith, and some people would view it, your soul or your spirit, whatever that is, right? You have to ask yourself that. And you can't really do that on the same level as a 6-year-old as you can as an adult. And so I think
Right.
faith evolves as you get older. And so I was always raised in Christianity and in the church, but there was a very distinct moment in college where I was like, whoa, not everyone believes the things that I believe. Not everyone's like me. How do I, is God present here too? Or is it just in, Christian world? And so taking that faith from it being like about rules and knowing all about God to actually getting to know who God is. And
Mm.
that's where I am now. It's just a personal relationship with Jesus, and understanding that, like, he's not worried about me following all the rules. He just wants to know who I am, and I want to know who he is. And so that's kind of our, the foundation of all that we do, and what makes me so passionate about just connecting with people, because I want to see where they're at in their faith story, and where are they at along the road, and how can I help them, feel less alone in that.
And I think you said it. I mean, the values, or I really actually appreciate the Baha'i faith, because they take a look at all the religions and they look at
Yeah.
the common themes. And, you really emit kindness, generosity, fun, family, faith in
Yeah.
a way that is welcoming and open. And I would wonder if that has a lot to do with the fact that you, after the age of 18, I'm assuming, began to travel the world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you got exposed to different cultures. Talk a little bit about how that has shaped you in this way of being, in this life by design. Hey guys, we interrupt this regularly scheduled caffeinated conversation to fuel your ongoing coffee addiction. I have the owner and CEO of Wilmington Coffee Roasters here with me, Travis Parmalu.
I'm so honored to not only be a Coffee with Nicoa guest, but also a new sponsor. I love coffee, so I founded Wilmington Coffee Roasters in 2020 to share it with the world. If you want the best coffee of your life, head right on over to wilmingtoncoffeeroasters.com. And if you still happen to be listening, be sure to use coupon code Coffee with Nicoa, all one word, for a nifty 10% off at checkout.
Thank you, Travis. And everybody, after you buy your coffee, don't forget to follow Wilmington Coffee Roasters on Facebook and Instagram. Now, back to your regularly scheduled caffeinated conversation.
Wow, absolutely. Yeah, I think the first trip I took was to Canada, which wasn't super, out of the box, but I saw how people lived a little bit differently. But then I think from there, my first major trips were to Ghana, Africa. And to be received and welcomed in a place like that, and to have relationships with people that are in such a different, I mean, everything about the way they live is different, and I don't know, just to see their joy and to see like how they pray and to know that we're praying together and that we have that in common. I don't know. I think it just brings a sense of humility
Mm,
to my heart and to anyone that would experience that, and to think that like, wow, God is so creative and he's so involved that he's made them and made me, and now we're together. Like, what a privilege that is. So I think Ghana was definitely the first wake up call to that. And then after that, actually my husband and I, when we were engaged, we did a trip to Ecuador. And our first day we were meeting I was staying at like a pastor's house, and they're like, we have a community of kids that want to do a camp. Can the two of you put on a camp? And in 24 hours, we planned a camp. And thankfully, my husband is fluent in Spanish. And
oh,
we did a camp for like 60 to 100 kids, all in
oh,
Spanish,
wow.
you know,
Wow.
and like just seeing that, like, hey, we don't have to worry. We're not in control here. We're going to go with the flow. We're going to use like the gifts that we've been given, and seeing how that type of culture operates and how so much was made with so little. I think
Yeah.
it just, again, goes back to like gratitude and humility. And then probably the trip that was the most impactful that I probably haven't spoken about ever publicly was I went to visit a friend in China, and she was there and can't really say
Yeah.
why, but she was. And to see how there are so many undocumented people there, and just be like in this giant city,
Mm.
and then 20 minutes on a moped, we're in the middle of a village that looks like it was from the 1500s.
Oh, yeah. I've been
It's
to
like,
China.
yeah,
And I'm not kidding. On one side of the street, you'd see somebody like in a Armani suit. And on
yeah,
the other side of the street, you'd see a guy that's pulling a stone wheeled cart that looked like you were in the Ming Dynasty. I mean, I was
literally.
in shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't really been able to talk about that a lot. And so just because I haven't had the platform to do so, but seeing just humanity at such a vulnerable level,
Yeah.
and knowing the privilege that I had to fly all the way there, and I get to fly all the way home,
Yeah.
just to sit in that moment with those people and wash rice on the floor with them
Wow.
was, it just, I don't know, it just makes you think like, it doesn't matter what that, like, if the position of belief that I have, like, I don't need to force that on anyone. People will ask me about it if they want to, and I'm going to just show them how loving God is by loving people. And we'll get
Yeah.
there. We'll get to that conversation. So,
And, I think that ultimately you have embraced a way of being that is love.
yeah,
Love and joy. I don't care who you give credit to. At the end of the day, we all have access to that.
yeah,
Whether
definitely.
you can articulate why it's there
Mhm.
and
Sure.
available to you or not,
Yeah.
you have access to it. And with self-observation and self-dialogue, you can consciously choose it. And I try to enter those ways of being through those different portals, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and being exposed globally like that, talking about the different cultures, that can remind you that the words don't matter. The energy
Yeah.
is what matters. And when you're sitting there washing rice with someone, or I remember my Chinese colleague had grabbed my arm and we were walking, like all the
Yeah.
women would hook arms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, my colleague is hooking arms with me here. So we're walking across the street, and then she goes, come here, come here. And we go down this alleyway, and I'm like, where are we going? I mean, it's a little sketch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the whole place feels sketch. And then we go in this little teeny door, and then we sit down, and these women wash our feet.
Yeah. Wow. Oof.
And I was like, I mean, talk about symbolism.
I was about to say, that's the last thing Jesus did before he died.
That's right. So I was like, wow, this feels really profound.
Yeah.
And yet she wanted me to have that experience,
Mm.
and I was glad to have it.
Yeah.
But I became so connected to each of these countries that I had been to, fortunately through my work,
Cool.
that it just made humanity so much more accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up in a school where, maybe one person wasn't white out of 200 people,
Right.
we're all wearing uniforms. We're all like, there's nothing inherently wrong about that. But like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. Right. And
Right.
I remember going to college and I was like, wow, people really are looking different.
Well, good for you to be in a space of humility and kindness and love in order to be aware of any bias, right? Or any
Yeah, I'm
upbringing
definitely
bias.
still learning that. I mean, there's so much to learn and unpack with that even now. And yeah, I think part of that is because of the access we have. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't know what our neighbors 5 streets over were thinking, even though they're living completely different than us. We didn't know, but now we do know. And so
now we know a little too much
too much,
sometimes.
for sure. Yeah, we know too much actually, but we can work with it. So,
well, let's shift to some of the fun things that you guys do. One of the things that I really admire about your relationship and your way of being and your collective followers is that you are hilarious and always playing around. So talk to everybody about the orange cone. I don't even know where the cone story began.
Oh, okay. Cone origin story. Well, I have one right here.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have to have a little miniature. And we're talking about what are those officially called?
Like a traffic cone.
Traffic cone. Thank you. We're talking about traffic cones, people. This is critical. Pay close attention.
So I think we've all seen a traffic cone. Matter of fact, I think we all see them too much, right? Right when my husband and I got married, we moved into a townhome. And the week after we moved in, they started construction on the road. And this road was a 2-lane road with like a little turnout. And in the 3.5 years we lived there, they took that 2.5-lane road. This is Kerr Avenue.
Yeah. Car.
Yeah, I know you take the matriarch version. I take the patriarch version. I know it's horrible.
Okay. All right. Well, we can both OG coexist. Car
they're
Avenue.
both right, actually.
They're both right. Okay.
I know. Trust me. I know.
Yeah, that's why they named that car wash Kerr Kerr wash.
I know.
And
I know. For those listening, there's a debate in Wilmington over a road that's spelled Kerr, and some people say car and some people say Kerr. I say Kerr, Nicoa says car.
There we go. We agree to disagree. But back to the traffic cone story.
Yeah. So every day I would document how absolutely absurd the process of thinking was of this. I mean, there were days where they would add a lane and then they'd add a median. They'd put grass in the median, then they'd dig out the grass and it would be mud, and then they would concrete it over and add another lane. It just, nothing seemed, from my perspective, nothing seemed to be done in order. So I don't know. I was reporting on the cones every day. I got a traffic vest. And then when it finally got completed, I did acquire one of the cones for myself. Mm-hmm. His name is Kurt. And I put googly eyes on him, and I brought scones out for the cones, and we had a full party in the middle of the median to celebrate that this construction was done. And then like 5 months later we moved, which is just hilarious. And now the entire northern end of Market Street, which I drive every day to my house, is under construction.
Of course.
But yeah, so it was a joke from that. But what I realized is every time you see a traffic cone, and this sounds very woo-woo, and I know that, but every time
you're in the right place.
Right. Every time you see a traffic cone, you have a choice to be upset about construction and that all these people are moving here and all the roads horrible and Wilmington city planning's bad, which some of that is true. Or you can make the choice to think, oh, I am so glad I'm protected from that, disaster. I am so glad that I don't have a flat tire running through that. Or I took it a step further and turned the letters of cone, CONE, into like an acronym. Change one negative emotion. So just, okay, I see a cone. What am I grateful for right now? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't really know where it came from, to be honest with you, other than just celebrating the little things. And that's what I do with everything every day. And people really grasped onto it because turns out everybody sees cones all the time.
Oh,
So when
I'm
people are traveling, they send me photos of cones, which is the best.
I knew that. That's the best. I'm going to have to start doing it. I had no idea how profound the origin story was going to be. This is so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change one negative emotion. Everybody write that down.
Mhm.
And I would like you to now start sending cone images as well. So
Yeah.
First I need to follow you on Instagram, which is it Summer Lambert photo or what is it? Okay. Summer Lambert photo. We'll put that in the show notes. So I love that so much. And now the cone story takes me to the Olympic story.
Of course,
then naturally, because they have nothing to do with each other. But except
you're just running through my Instagram highlights, which is great.
I know.
Great introduction for anyone who doesn't know who I am.
And I'm always following your story, so it's so much fun. And today is the first day of the Paralympics.
It sure is. It sure is.
I'm so excited. I love this guy I'm following that's he's in a wheelchair and he's always like, is everybody coming to the party? I just reposted him. I don't know why I've forgotten his
I
name
need to look him up.
Yeah, I just reposted him on my story. So by the time this airs, Paralympics will have come and gone. But that doesn't mean you can't pay attention in 4 years. So
Absolutely.
or 2 years.
Absolutely.
So, but you have a love for the Olympics. Now, when did you start being the unofficial NBC host?
I don't know. I think it started, well, I mean, I remember watching the 1998 Olympics and just knowing I wanted to be there. I used to be a very serious rollerblader. Yes.
Okay.
And for about 4 years straight, my friend Ava and I would call the IOC, whatever it was back then, whatever you'd call, and ask for rollerblading to be put into the Olympics.
Yes.
And it still isn't. I would want to point that out. It still isn't.
It's still not.
And so if it ever comes back, you best believe I'll be hitting the training grounds. But yeah, I think just the idea of competing in a sport in a national level, I think the lore and the like idea that I could be standing next to someone from Zimbabwe competing, it's all about story. It's all about story.
It is.
And that's what makes the Olympics so special because there's so many different stories come into play. I mean, you have a national story. Like right now, I think what made the Olympics so compelling this year is the US's national story right now is not great. Like we are in turmoil for 100 reasons, not just politically. Like there's a lot of things that we're working through as a nation, but to be able to be on an Olympic stage celebrating the United States in a united way, power. I mean, that's power. And it was so wonderful to have people from all shapes, sizes, sides of the political spectrum celebrating America. It was like, yeah, see, this is what we need to be doing. Yes. And then you have countries that have never gotten medals before that get a medal, and you hear their story and how because this guy got a gold medal, he's getting this much money for life. He's getting a house, he's getting a car, and that changes the entire trajectory of his family's life. I'm like, this is amazing, you know? So I think amazing. That's what started it. But the thing that really kept me going was I was watching the Winter Olympics I guess it would have been 2021. That was supposed to be the 2020 Olympics. And the reporting was very horrible. And rather than criticize them, I decided I would just do my own reporting.
Yes.
So I was like, have y'all watched this? Because this is a lot, okay? Are you seeing these people do what I'm seeing? Because I don't know if you are.
Well, I think that was the year that we were all following the medal count guy with the khakis.
Yeah, Steve Kornacki and his khakis.
Steve Kornacki and his khakis. And you really, that was funny. Mm-hmm. You're so funny. And plus you deck out your apartment and you got your living room all set up. And
I always have medals with me. Hold on, I got them right here.
Oh, bring out the medals, babe. Oh, there they are. Because you are an Olympic medalist.
I do give out gold medals to people during the day. I don't know if you knew that about me.
I did not know this. I can't wait to run into you in town.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. Yeah, I do.
I'm gonna have to stalk you now, like even more so than I was before.
You can just send me a text. We'll figure it out.
Say, hey, where are you at? I'm coming to visit. Well, and you kind of got in trouble, didn't you? Like you're posting on your story, but Instagram pulled you down. What the heck?
They did. I think I was watching the Olympics in real time. and I was posting about them in real time before NBC could get their NBC coverage. And so there was about 7 different posts that I got like blocked for, and that like held my account for an hour.
Oh.
And the one that I still can't post and it will not let me post is the one about the breakdancer.
Oh, well, everybody else is posting about the breakdancer.
I know, but I think because my video is from the original coverage that they've since pulled off of Peacock,
Okay.
they won't let me post it.
I watched that, and I was watching live because I had it on my calendar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too.
And I was also like, wait, what?
Well, it's just like, and here's where my reporting side comes in, right? I'm thinking, okay, Olympic breakdancing. This is our first time. So let's make it the best. And if we've ever seen a dance competition, I mean, any dance battle in the history of forever, there's 3 things. There's good music, there's mood lighting, and there's conflict because we're battling, okay?
Right.
This breakdancing competition, breaking, happened at noon in the middle of the day in the bright sun on a wrestling mat.
Yeah.
In an open air stadium, and only 300 royalty-free pre-approved songs were available.
Oh.
They're like SoundCloud links. I'm like, and there was nothing to battle about because this is the first time we've ever had this competition. So no one's like thinks anyone's better than anyone.
Right.
So they're literally just like high-fiving each other. I'm like, this is not it. This isn't it.
I didn't think it was it either. It really kind of fizzled.
It's okay.
Is it not coming back?
No.
Did they cancel it?
Oh yeah. At the LA Olympics will be baseball and softball, squash, flag football is another one.
I did hear about flag football because somebody is going to be the coach. He wants to be the coach, that famous football person.
Yeah. Love those famous football people.
I was okay.
Yeah, we were tracking. So anyway, none of this has anything to do with me being a photographer, but I think being a photographer is the least interesting thing about me. So it doesn't really matter. But I just giggle when people follow me based on photo stuff. I'm like, well,
yeah, you're not getting to photo stuff. I mean, you can see that on the new beautiful website that you've just created, which I'm about to merge my 2 websites. I was like in 2 different worlds for a while, and I'm like, it's time to blend.
Put it together.
You inspired me actually, because I was watching you launch, and I went to your site, and it was just so friendly and so engaging, and I was like, good. Yeah, I need just one site.
Yeah.
Like, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
I've been finding myself. So that's kind of how that goes, and writing a new story, which, so there's a lot to my story. I don't actually know if you know that John and I aren't together anymore. Oh no, it's awful. It's so heartbreaking, but it's the right thing. And it is so sad. And I didn't think you knew, but we had a great party.
We did. And that's really, you know what? The memories are there. Maybe, the memories were the friends we made along the way.
That's it. Look at that's profound. And you know what? I even had a little gathering after John and I split, and all my girlfriends came, and we kind of had this little, I sent them a message, and I was like, I'm getting divorced, and I need you. I need my friends right now.
Absolutely.
And they all came, and we pulled out the books, and we looked at all the photos that you had beautifully taken for us, and the layout of it. And I was just like, I do not regret 1 minute of that relationship. And although it was short-lived, it was probably the most powerful relationship I've ever had in my life.
Good.
And I'm launching into the next version of my life by design.
That's great.
And I'm glad I collected you along the way. That's for sure.
Me too. And that's the thing. I think that's the thing. Like, it's so easy to look at something and just think about what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that be it. But like, also there was a lot of things that did work and a lot that you did learn from that, right?
Yes.
And what were some of the wins? One of the wins was that now we're friends. I mean, like, that's so, I mean, a very small piece of the whole story, but also like a really beautiful thing. So I think
so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know myself a lot better. I mean, some people think that they need to be alone, and I did post about that today actually, that you should spend a lot of time alone in order to really
Yeah.
find your own vision and reconnect with yourself and your faith and whatever it is that is moving you, motivating you, energizing you. But it is in relationship
Oh,
that
yeah.
we grow and heal, because you're going to get triggered, you're going to have reactions, you're going to have opportunities, and you're going to be tested in a way to show up aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And if you don't continue to test yourself, you won't evolve and expand and
Oh, yeah.
grow. And that's the whole point of being on this planet, is to grow and expand and serve in some way. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what the gift that John gave me
Yeah.
in that time that we were together. But yeah, I didn't know if I was going to tell you or not, but I thought everybody listening by the time this post is like, does Summer know?
She doesn't.
I wonder
It's okay.
if Summer...
No, it's okay. It's fun that you say that, because one of my other like core statements is that we suffer in isolation and we heal in community. And I am so passionate about community. And it can look a lot of different ways for different people. I mean, there's different life stages, there's different needs. I mean, whether you're single, married, have kids, really young kids. My husband and I are in a very unique spot right now. You know, we want children. We don't know when they're going to come, but we've been married for 8 years. So we're not newlyweds and we're not young 20-year-olds, but we're also don't have little kids running around us right now. And so we are available in ways that maybe friends our age are not. And so our whole like mission in life is just to serve our people well and use that time well. And we've been able to learn so much about how we communicate, how we, have conflict, how we need to be better by like being in the trenches with our people, rather than just thinking, oh, we can just do this by ourselves,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, community, like I said, I called upon the women in my world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and brought them around me. And even I had to spread the partnering though during the transition. I mean, for those of you going through hard times, sometimes you got a couple of best friends and they're like, hey, how's it going? Because you're going to go, oh, and then this happened and this happened and this. So I tried to spread the space giving with my friends. And ultimately, it always comes back to you. And if you can turn that, as my mother said after my father passed, turned her grief into gratitude.
Yeah.
That's really where I've been in the last month, is just how can I really turn this grief into gratitude? And and I'm there. I'm so much more there than ever before. So, but I could only get there with the community.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it alone. And grief is probably the most powerful tool to learning and growing. I think. I mean, I don't know how much you know about my husband's life, but his 2.5 months after we got married, his brother took his life.
Oh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry.
And so we went from honeymoon stage to survival fast and had to grow up fast. And I'm an only child. So like now I have 2 brothers. Now I don't. Now one's gone. And like, I didn't even start processing that grief until like 4 years ago, because the first few years was taking care of my husband.
Right.
And being a support for him. And like, we kind of have this unsaid rule, like neither of us are allowed to be melting down at the same time. So like, go take your meltdown because I have one coming, but we can't be doing it at the same time because then you fall apart. And like about 4 years ago, I was like, I think it's time for me to like fall apart in this way. Okay. And so, just learning that grief is not linear and that it teaches you so much about your own story, about the story of your family, about if you have a faith, like where God steps into that grief and how he carries you through it. I mean, I think it's probably the most powerful tool to teach you about yourself.
That's a really good lesson, though, for you as partners. I mean, love by design is a thing I talk about a lot. And you have to have kind of this understanding. Here are kind of our rules as a partnership. Yeah. And if I'm going to be there for you, or if I need you to be there for me, then it's got to be reciprocal. Yeah. So that's beautiful. Yeah. And I'm glad that y'all have found that balance. And I'm sure it's not balanced all the time.
No,
And
not
sometimes,
always, but yeah,
yeah, sometimes we get triggered. We're like, "Ugh, how come I have to be there for you right now? I want
literally,
you to be there for
literally, I
me.
have said those words. Okay, I'm tired of being the strong one. Okay.
I know. I know. Can you please? I need something. There's some really good marriage vows that Jason Gaddis, Jayson, Jason Gaddis,
Uh-huh.
Gaddis, he has an account about the relationship school that you might enjoy reading
Hmm.
and following. But those vows are incorporating of, not only am I promising space for you to love you unconditionally, but I'm also providing space to help you heal
Yeah.
those childhood wounds.
Oh yeah.
And I'm able to actually acknowledge them and validate that sometimes you're going to come to me like a tantruming toddler.
Hmm.
And I am going to promise you that I will recognize that as the tantruming toddler, not the adult that I married.
Yeah.
And when I can do that, then I am actually helping you grow out of it and heal that tantruming toddler's wound.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah.
people don't realize that's what's happening. They think, better. Nope, I'm actually 4 right now, and I can't see anything other than that 4-year-old reaction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that has been really interesting to think about. The more, the older you get, if you're actually doing the work, the more you'll learn about yourself, right? And I have always been a very emotional, like joyful, what I'm thinking. Well, maybe you don't know what I'm thinking, but you think you know what I'm feeling by looking at me. But and everyone's always like, oh, Summer, so this, so that. And like, I cry all the time. I love to cry. I'm not afraid to cry. For a while, I held back on it, and I think it's just letting it out now. But so I'm a feeler. People think that. But the more I have learned about myself, I'm actually a thinker. I don't really know what I'm feeling until I think about it.
mm,
And in marriage, that can be complicated because it's like I am analyzing a situation and I'm thinking about all the ways that you're feeling, the ways that I'm feeling, and I don't even know how I'm feeling. I just think I know. And so kind of like recently in the past couple years, like really the last year or two, understanding the power of being a thinker and that I need to take time to think so I know how I feel, not just saying everything out.
yeah.
And so much of that is like childhood stuff of like, I was the only child. So in my mind, I don't think my parents ever said this to me, but in my mind, I had to hold it all together, and I was the one cousin out of the 3 cousins that was the good one and the one that wasn't having a lot of trouble. And so like, I've always been that. And so that's why I didn't know what I was feeling because I knew what I needed to feel.
That's right, because you in some way learned that to be loved and accepted and
Right.
enough, then you were happy.
Right.
Or you made sure kept the peace
Yeah.
for everybody else. And
Yeah.
that's a pretty typical scene, especially for an only child.
Yeah. Or entertained everyone, that was
Right.
really it.
They love me more. Oh, look how much they laughed when I made the
Yeah.
joke about the whatever. Okay, I'll do that more because
Yeah.
that gets me a good feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, interesting, right? I wish we knew then what we know now.
Right.
How did you come to this knowing? Did you go through any therapy work or coaching work or?
Yeah, I've done a couple. I've had 2 different therapists or counselors, whatever. There's so many different names for them. And I think just sitting with the thing that took me there was friendship stuff. Being an only child, people that are my friends become my siblings very fast. It's like once you're in, you're in.
You're like, yeah.
And I think growing up is hard and like understanding different stages of friendship. Like some people truly are just there for a season or God brought them to you for just this specific reason. And then like, there's very few friends that are lifetime friends and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. You're not a failure. Like life just moves. And I was just trying to understand because of the type of person that I am. I am so loving and so passionate. I want to make sure everyone's good, And I was like, how can y'all just move on with your life and not even consider me anymore? Like, and I want you to be mad at me. I want to do something to make you mad. So there's a reason for you to be mad, but I haven't done anything. You're just it's just, you're not thinking of me, and that's hurting worse, And I was
Right,
like,
because you need something to rationalize why would they move on,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Why are they not hanging out with me? I must not be enough. They must hate me. What did I do? And I'd
Well,
rather there be some reason. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so it was just very much like, I think I need to, and like I caught myself thinking about it more than I wanted to. And I was like, I need to definitely talk about this with a professional because I just need some guidance on it. And that unlocked like just talking through more different things. And I think the advantage of being an only child and being a thinker is that I have thought a lot about my soul and myself, and I am very in tune with who I am. And I do feel like I am a good friend to me.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are still figuring that out in their 60s and 70s, because they've spent so much of their life just taking care of other people, taking care of other people. But I really just had to take care of me. And
Yeah.
that is something I'm trying to do now is like actually take care of me. And so that's where that childhood stuff has definitely come up.
Well, I'm really proud of you because ultimately we have to take care of ourselves. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we have to be our own best friend. And I was thinking about that this past weekend as I'm still, not only am I now single, but I am an empty nester
Yeah.
this past year. This is the first full year of being an empty nester.
Wow.
And I posted this morning how I think my middle child had like ghosted me and was breaking up with me. Which is so not true. She's just,
I was about to say,
funny.
she's just probably busy.
She's so busy. And I was like, yeah, I was exactly like her when I was her age.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching my way of being over the weekend and I was thinking to myself, I haven't been alone like this. I was kind of like an only child because I was the youngest and the next oldest was 4 years older and my parents got divorced and I was a latchkey kid. So I was alone in this house. This is my childhood home.
Wow, that's right.
And the same property, wandering around, finding things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a story. You end up, you talk to yourself, you sing really loud. I used to sing, walk around the backyard and explore. And I thought, well, did I not learn how to be my best friend then? And I was like, I think I did, but which makes it easy for me to be alone. I could travel the world alone, that thing. But there was a loneliness then that has been pervasive throughout. And it's only now at the age of 55 where I'm forced back into the same scenario where I am alone.
Yeah.
To then now address the loneliness and say, are you really lonely? Or are you realizing again, you're not alone. You are never alone.
Yeah.
And you are safe.
Yeah.
And it's that ultimate healing, which I think is part of the hero's journey or the life journey on this planet, is to remember I'm not alone, whether it be with my faith or my angels, my guides, my family, my community. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that when I can sit still in that knowing, that brings us back to that fulfillment and contentment and joy that you talk about.
Yeah.
And it's hard to access when you have a lot of pre-programmed ways of being and having served others for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And so I think right now, since we don't have kids, like we're really actively trying to do that and just like make sure that we are the healthiest we could be so that when God gives us kids, like we can pass good things to them, and we could raise
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And they're going to pick you when the time is right. They'll pick you. And I do believe that. So all of the feels, all the experiences, I think there's great value in it because there's been times as a parent where I've suffered over, could I have done that differently? What if I showed up this way? And then I was like, you know what? They picked me.
Yeah.
So I keep doing the best I can. Yeah. And then I try to turn it into a teachable moment.
Absolutely.
And I'm so excited. You're going to be the best parents.
I hope so. I love it. I feel like I get enough practice between photographing families and having 300 children at church running around. So,
well, how is the self-care, self-love going? And then I'll wrap us up. But how are you doing with that process of getting to know yourself again? And
yeah, it's been good. I think one of the funniest questions to me that my therapist asked me was, well, what do you do for fun? And I was like, do you know me? I mean, I was like, everything. She's like,
everything.
Well, let me think of a different way to ask you that. What do you do for yourself? And I was like, oh. So, it's as simple as like a skincare routine, as simple as a certain routine in the morning of quiet time, reflection time, reading, not hydrating and nourishing my body, like those things. I just never had a routine because I was just doing whatever all the time. And so that has really just been great. I know it sounds so simple, but I think the simpler we
it's
can
beautiful.
make it, the better it is, you know?
Yeah. And being intentional about it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean strict, wake up 5 a.m. routine. That is actually the worst.
No,
I dislike that very much. But when you can go with the flow and cherish and savor I do like a routine at night too, where I use this face oil, and I use the opportunity to look in the mirror and just really love up on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really a beautiful gift. And even ultimately those self-care practices or self-fun practices, my invitation to you as a coach, because I can't help myself.
Please
find some fun things that have zero outcome. Like there's not one tied productive outcome. Like, yes, I love my oil, and then that's going to make my face look younger and smoother. Like that's not exactly the ultimate, right?
Yeah.
It's still, it's multitasking when I do the face thing. No, I'm talking about like the wandering around at the Hallmark store.
Yes.
Reading and laughing out loud at all of the cards.
I love to wander. Oh, I love to wander.
Me too.
I love to wander. I love to dilly-dally.
Yep. I love to mosey. Mosey's a good word.
Yeah. I do. I used to not, because I was just I just was hopping around and just go. Oh man, there's something deeply profound about wandering and just seeing what happens along the way. I remember studying abroad in Australia when I was in college.
Ooh, where? I lived there. Where did you go?
I studied in Wollongong, which is outside.
I've been to Wollongong. I lived in Wagga Wagga.
Cool.
What?
I took the train past Wagga Wagga. Yeah, so I was there for a month, and then like 5 weeks. And one night I was walking in downtown Sydney. Also, Australia is so beautiful and clean and safe. And I saw this little, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't marker or paint. It somehow was etched into concrete.
Yeah.
It said, "There's always flowers for those who see them." And I was like, I didn't think about it at all. I took a picture of it. I posted it on Instagram. And I remember like a few years ago that popping up as a memory. And I was like, I didn't even know the flower that I was seeing by seeing that, And I just think if we go and we just walk with intention of something good is coming today, like, God, would you show me your joy today? And whereas before, if you're just going so fast and a bee flies by and you're like, oh, this bee's in my way. But now I'm moseying along and I see this bee and I think, oh, what flower is that going to pollinate? What goodness is going to come from that? like it's such a simple mindset shift, but it is so powerful. And so, yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I mean, I was right there with you.
Yeah.
Because you are the creator of your life. And you get to write the story any way you want. And I like to invite people to know that when they wake up in the mornings, they have a clean sheet of paper. Yeah. So even if yesterday was like this crappy story and you forgot to notice the bee and the flower, right. Well, today you can.
Well,
it's never too late.
Part about that analogy with the paper is you also can choose what your writing utensil is.
Oh, yes. What's your favorite writing utensil?
Well, I love a pen. I have a couple pens that are my favorite. But if you need to write in marker today, do it. If you need to write in pencil so you can go back and erase, that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly.
Fine. So
I got my favorite Uniball Air right here, babe. This is my favorite pen.
Mine is across the room, and I don't want to get up to get it. But one of my other ones is a Zebra F402. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
everyone. It's heavy but thin. Love it.
Mine, it was made in Japan.
Oof.
And no matter which way the pen is angled, it always writes.
Oh,
I think about the Japanese lettering.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that must be why they designed that way.
That's cool. I love it. But we'll have
Well,
to get coffee sometime to talk just about travels, not on the podcast. Because I want.
oh my gosh, we have got to sit down and just really connect as friends. I think we've got a lot in common. And so, what you brought your coffee today? I have my Starbucks because I got excited this morning and needed actual branding.
Well, I was listening to your podcast because I wanted to catch up and just see like who had you recently had on there, and I was reminded about your espresso shot episodes.
That's
And
right.
Oh yeah, so I made 2 espresso shots and I put some honey and vanilla in there with a little bit of milk.
Oh, that looks so yummy, and it's in her ball jar with a handle glass, and I went on. Everybody go to her website because she's got all sorts of fun, happy things. I mean, she's sending. What are you spreading? Kindness like confetti.
That's
Is
right.
that what you say? Kindness like confetti. She talks about her favorite coffee order is the iced flat white with a splash of vanilla.
Oh yeah.
Her personality test is the Enneagram. If you haven't done the Enneagram yet, people, go do it. You love Adele. Oh my gosh. And my favorite little I want to be like you is, now, is it too soon if I say, so the next time I get married?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I want to get married at Lake Como in Italy. Is that where y'all got married?
That's not where we got married, but I photographed a wedding there, or I was on a team doing a wedding there, and it was unbelievable.
I bet it was unbelievable.
I'll meet you in Lake Como. Don't worry.
Let's do it, girl. You will be my photographer. You know this, right? You're already my girl.
Perfect. Let's do it.
I know a girl.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah. Back to the traffic cone thing. By the end of the year, I will have merch on my website with traffic cones.
I went to that link and it was like coming soon. I was like, what the hell is she selling?
Yeah. It's going to be, well, I don't want to give it away, but.
Oh, nope. Stay tuned.
It's going to be great.
Right.
I think you'll love it.
You should get like a collaboration with, what's that lady's name that made the goat necklace? That jeweler. She can make a cone.
Ooh.
I saw the husband-wife team. He's a Paralympian and she's the one that won the gold medal.
Hunter and Tara. Yeah.
Hunter and Tara. Yeah, I followed them.
Yeah.
I always forget in the moment. So she got him some jewelry I think they got the Olympic rings.
Okay, cool. I'll have to
necklace, but she didn't show it. She was hiding it, but I guess she didn't want to. It was too personal or something. But I was like, oh, right when you said that, see, you could get a cone made with some diamonds.
Some cone merch, and there'll be I'm launching a print shop for people to buy images from our beautiful area.
As you should. Well, everybody go check Summer out. And I have another client and somebody that I interviewed named Summer as well, Summer Page. So I was like, how many Summers do I know? I'm going to find more and interview them.
Ooh, that could be a whole series.
Well, tell me anything you want to share with the listeners. How can they find you? Is there anything else you're working on other than the merch shop?
No, I mean, just I have mini sessions that I offer periodically that are kind of my lowest price point, easiest entry point. And so there's a way for you to sign up for that email list. But other than photo stuff, I'm working on some stuff for young girls, like middle school age girls, kind of leading a camp for them. So that'll be next summer though. So just kind of, I don't know, I'd say follow me on Instagram, Summer Lambert Photo, and stay tuned because you just never know what's going to drop there.
You never know. And I can't wait to hear your commentary on the Paralympics. I'm going to go figure out all the ways I can watch that. That starts tonight, I believe. And thank you. I'm so pleased that we connected and that we're friends now.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. And thank y'all for listening. It's been really special to be here today.
Absolutely. All right. I love you. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us for a caffeinated conversation. Subscribe to Coffee with Nicoa for more stories from people living a life by design. You can also find inspiration on Instagram. Just follow Coffee with Nicoa. And check out our website, coffeewithnicoa.com. And that's Nicoa, Nicoa. We look forward to talking with you soon, and enjoy your coffee between now and then.
Guess what, y'all? I published a book. Your Life by Design, a Coffee with Nicoa self-care coaching journal, is now available on Amazon. This interactive journal begins and ends with powerful queries, guiding you on a quest for the kind of life by design you don't need a vacation from. I've included an in-depth look at strategic self-care to empower you and hold you accountable to really getting to know your true self. It's time to prioritize you. Use the link in the show notes to buy yours today.